I'm really keen to get your take on the misinformation laws, the so-called misinformation laws that Labor withdrew. The coalition was strongly condemning them, opposing them, and they got withdrawn. Now we're getting signs that your own party, the Liberal Party and Nationals, will look at supporting misinformation laws. Surely you have some strong concerns about this.
Yeah, well, Chris, look, I think the proof is going to be in the pudding. I think Mr Dutton said that he wanted to see what it looked like when it came out the other end of the tube. Again, of course, the original incarnation was diabolical, and I think the message was taken loud and clear by the Labor government. They took it off the exposure draft list and then, trying to hammer it back into shape. I personally can't imagine what shape it would be hammered into that would be acceptable. I mean, the prospect of giving more bureaucracy, more power in this area chills me to the bone, frankly. Having government deciding what's true and what's not, having government deciding what's misinformation and what's disinformation does not strike me as being a good idea. And I think Mr Dutton's been pretty clear about that as well. He doesn't want anything that's going to interfere with political speech and political discourse. Of course, we all take the view that we don't want to see abhorrent material online.
Yeah.
But my question is, what does that look like when it comes out? I don't have any great hopes personally for me supporting this bill.
Look, it goes without saying, of course, that we don't want violence, violent videos and crimes posted online, and everybody's trying to get Elon Musk and others to pull that sort of stuff down now at the moment. That to me, is a separate battle, and I don't want that to be used as a smokescreen for essentially government censorship, because you've led the charge already in exposing how this is already happening under existing laws. Let's have a look at this tweet, for example, during the pandemic, having a go at Daniel Andrews and his mask ban. This is an example of what was pulled down by the social media companies at the behest of our government. Our federal government secretly censored material like this and hundreds of other posts during the pandemic. And most of the stuff they had taken down was actually factual.
Yeah, it's quite right. And it was, I think, your report in The Australian that very gratefully brought that to the media, the public's attention, because it didn't get as much attention it deserved. It was a massive issue as far as I'm concerned. We had the Department of Home Affairs using powers and their policy structure, which was designed after the horrendous Christchurch shooting, being used against Australians during COVID, pulling down posts and referring posts onto Facebook and Meta and other platforms for review, effectively. And many of those posts were pulled down. 4,200, in fact, I believe, were referred and removed. And that in itself highlights the problem here. This becomes an issue of when you've got highly paid government bureaucrats who may have a very different worldview to you and I, Chris, doing that work instead of the court of public opinion, the market of free thought, of course. And that's entirely the position here. In fact, what we're saying here is to Twitter, he's being told, well, take that down. And I think his response is, well, that doesn't breach our company platform. Well, that was exactly the opposite of what the Home Affairs Department were doing during COVID. They were actually using those internal procedures at Facebook to censor Australians there. So we don't want bureaucrats in our lives, Chris. We don't want them interfering and telling us what's true and what's not.
Look, I think that's game, set and match. I think the secret censorship we saw during the pandemic and the fact that it censored perfectly relevant points of view and factual points of view shows that you can't trust governments at any level to control what goes up online. We all want only decent information online, but governments are not the people to hand that power to, that's for sure.